Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got another update in regards to the critical Canadian election that's going to be happening on Monday night. We've got new polling data that suggests Pierre Poilievre is improving in terms of overall margin. Maybe Carney wins, but it's probably going to be a minority seat for the Liberals if they do win. And you can see the recent updates, 80-20, pretty high odds in terms of Carney. I will say when it comes to Polymarket, they are very accurate, but they do tend to be more inaccurate when you're talking about less population. And so we know the United States has significantly more population than Canada. Canada could be more volatile. And you can see it does look like your three conservative provinces will be Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, with British Columbia going to the Liberals, and all the other provinces. Now it looks like Nunavut also going to the Liberals, although it's just one seat, but the two major provinces, Ontario and Quebec, heavily in favor of the Liberals there. Recently, you can see how it's depicted. Carney got up to around an 85% chance to win. It's since dropped back down to around 80, give or take 79% chance. Projected seats right now for the Liberals, 171. For a majority, you need 172. So this would be minority leadership for Liberals. You've got the Bloc out of Quebec at 22, the Conservatives at 139, the New Democratic Party at 10 seats. Obviously very liberal there. The Green Party at 1 seat, and then the PPC with 0 seats. And so you can see just the overall metrics here. There's a decently high chance for a liberal majority, liberal minority, a smaller chance at a conservative minority, and at this point, basically no chance at a conservative majority. Now, it's interesting to look at the polling because recently, Trump was very aggressive. Poilievre was the heavy favorite coming into 2025. They forced Trudeau out. He steps down. They bring in Carney. Trump talks about all the tariffs on Canada, going after them, calling Trudeau governor. The Liberals in Canada really play that up, say, oh, Poilievre is just like that. He's just like Trump. And then he had to kind of distance himself, Poilievre did, from Trump. And so now you're seeing Trump come out and put out a unifying message for this election. And this is like his election message. It was about unification, and it was a nice message. So you can see it recently. If we move this over, you do have the Liberal Party sitting around 44% to 37%. It's tightened up a little bit. Is a 7-point lead. Now it's a 4-point lead for the Liberal Party over the Conservative. And so what does this mean? Does this mean instead of a Liberal majority, it's a Liberal minority? Does this open the door for a potential Poilievre upset? Because remember, when you want to go all the way back, this was definitely, that's back in 2021, but this was definitely the Conservatives to lose. This was going to be a Conservative majority government. And then the past 4 or 5 months, everything changes within Canada. To me, it's crazy. Now, this is just the outside looking in. I'm not Canadian. I don't live in Canada. But the idea that the Liberal Party would have control for 3 straight terms, Trudeau had like a 16% approval rating. They do a little duct tape job with Carney, who was a banker, who was like the governor of the Bank of England, governor of the Bank of Canada. He comes in and suddenly they surge. And you can see the New Democratic Party, and this was one of my concerns that I had, because I was like, well, if they came together, the New Democratic Party and the Liberal Party, the New Democratic Party was at 19%. Now they're polling around 8%, 8.5%, because a lot of those people are liberal anyways, and they wanted to keep the Conservative Party from leadership, probability of winning. You can see Liberal was at 98%. Yeah, I don't understand how they were at 98% anyways, but now it's down to 90%. So it has come back down. And we don't know exactly, this isn't a guarantee the Liberals win, but I would say probably right now it's a Liberal minority leadership in Canada when the Canadian election happens. That would be my prediction right now. And that's just a cookie cutter prediction based off of what I'm seeing in terms of the polls. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Conservatives won a minority stake, because of how the election was looking and the amount of people that were voting Conservative, even in provinces like British Columbia. And there's still a chance the Conservatives win there, sitting at around 44-45% chance. So that's where we stand right now. Trump has really toned down this overall. I mean, they actually do have a little time frame. Trudeau resigns. At that point, Poilievre was at 92%. Liberal leadership, race begins. U.S. announces tariffs. Canada counters U.S. tariffs. Carney wins. So Carney wins. He's sitting at a 35% chance. But really, it was before then. Carney is just he's just a suit. This more so has to do with the dynamics within Canada. And you say, well, did Trump starting a tariff war with Canada really turn them liberal again after all of this positive momentum with Poilievre? Well, it's not that simple. It's mainly the new Democratic Party and their voters voting with the Liberals to come together, because Canada is extremely liberal. They're a lot more liberal than the United States is. And so that's the big issue. Now, I'm sure the tariffs and the annexation talk, it had a little bit of an impact, but not to the point to where, I mean, he goes from a 90% chance to, what is it, a 15% chance. It's obvious the new Democratic voters, many of them, around 12%, I mean, they were polling at 20%, now they're at 8%. Many of them are voting for Carney to keep conservatives out of leadership. And so it looks like right now, again, 171 seats, they would be just short of the majority, but the new Democratic Party would get 10 seats. They're also very liberal. I mean, we'll see what happens in terms of this. And then after that, what is the fallout depending on how, I mean, I wonder if they have, you know what, they actually do have this, the overall numbers. So British Columbia, they've got the Liberals winning by around 3. Alberta, Conservatives win by over 30. Saskatchewan and Manitoba, Conservatives win by around 11. This is the question with Alberta and their secession. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's just, it's a logistical problem in terms of them seceding. A lot of the Canadians within Alberta that are conservative, they still want to be Canadian. They don't want to join the United States. Now, they could use it as leverage and negotiate with the Canadian government to potentially get a better situation for their people. That's something that might happen. They might use it as leverage, just like they're doing with the Greater Idaho movement. Maybe you can then negotiate better terms. That would be the point. It's just like, well, we don't want to pay the equalization tax, and we're not going to subsidize the eastern provinces anymore. We're sick of it. If you don't give us this, we're going to look to join the United States and talk to Donald Trump. That could be something that happens. We don't know, but they have talked about it. Their premier, Danielle Smith, has come out and said, well, yeah, we're looking to put together a focus panel on secession if this happens to where there's a liberal minority, liberal majority, Carney with the most power. Alberta is not going to be happy about that. I don't think they will secede, though. If they did, they would need Trump's support, the United States support, and they might just use that to try and get a better situation within Canada, especially when you talk about how important and critical the resources within Alberta are when it comes to Canada. Canada, their Canadian government is not going to want to lose that. Possibly you're talking about the carbon tax, something involving that, removing it. That would be my expectation if Alberta really talked about leaving Canada and possibly becoming independent, maybe creating some type of economic partnership with the United States. The feasibility of it is not very realistic, but it would require Carney to win. And it looks like Carney's probably going to win. So that's just the analysis right now. It's like it's in between a liberal minority leadership rule and a liberal majority. And recently we've seen with Trump really being calm, putting out a nice statement, not doing too much. There's not this fear mongering that liberals can use to really ratchet it up. And they've got a huge problem in Canada. You see it on X all the time with the younger people in Canada saying this is terrible. It's all the boomers. Every other age range is voting for Poilievre. It's the boomers. They're all going for Carney and they're ruining the election. And so they've got that problem in Canada. And it is pretty crazy that it's even like this considering Canada is so liberal. Now, it's not like Poilievre is this crazy conservative. He's moderate. But still, when you think about it, that's just how bad liberal leadership has been, to where now they have to all come together, the new Democratic Party and the Liberal Party, and join as one just to have maybe a minority rule within the Canadian government. But I'm sure if the new Democratic Party gets 10 seats, they'll probably vote with the Liberal Party on most issues. Either way, guys, that's just the current state of the race. And again, you can see recently, you have seen the Conservatives. I mean, to me, these are too drastic of moves in terms of the percentages. I think Polymarket's a lot more accurate in terms of 80-20. You could even argue it's like 60-40, 70-30. I would say maybe 70-30, but I mean, I'm not in Canada. I don't know the vibe there. This is just me estimating it based off of the polling and everything like that. And the polling can be wrong, especially within Canada. You're not talking about, a ton of people and a huge sample. But either way, guys, that's just the current state of the Canadian election. Make sure you like this video. Follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.